All right.
Wingmans.
How you guys doing? Good? All right. Who here has heard of this thing called artificial intelligence? Anyone here? Anyone in this room? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone afraid that AI is going to take your job? Or anyone afraid that, okay, who here is trying to get into the game industry? Wow, a lot of people. And have you been hearing and on social media that AI is gonna, take your jobs, and what's gonna happen? Do I even have a future in the game industry? If I join, will I be replaced? Because I get a lot of that. Oh, by the way, I'm Rahul Sehgal. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Rahul Sehgal. I'm the founder of Gamer to Maker. And today we're going to be answering this question, right? I have an Instagram page and a YouTube channel, and my DMs are full of this question. Rahul, is AI going to take my job? And today's panel is all about that, and specific to the gaming industry. Okay, now here's the deal. We have some wonderful, very eminent panelists who really know what they're talking about. And the idea today is to give you very clear and concise information so that you hear the truth, right? The truth may not be that palatable, but you do need to hear it because AI is there. It's coming. It's there. It's going to grow, right? And we have to learn to live with it, especially in the gaming industry. So, right. So, without further ado, I shall let my panelists introduce themselves. So, starting with Josh. Okay, you got a mic already.
So I'm Josh, the CTO of Hammerplay Studios, and we've been around for 9 years. And,
Close it, yeah.
and lately, we adopted using some of the AI techs in our workflows. So I'll start from there. Okay.
Hi, my name is Taewon Yoon. I'm the CBO at Super Evil Mega Co., as well as the founder of Fate Twin Research, which is helping startup developers and publishers to do better games. As part of the Fate Twin Research, I'm helping a few companies to build AI-based, gameplay, which is really exciting genre for me right now.
Hi. Hi, my name is Mike Fisher. These days, I'm a professor in the University of Southern California Games Division and also a consultant. But prior to that, for more than 30 years, I was a games publisher. I was publisher of Fortnite at Epic Games. I was also CEO of Square Enix America and was an executive at Xbox, Sega, Bandai Namco, and more. So I've lived through many generations of technology evolution, and I'm very interested to discuss AI here.
All right, so let's get started. I'm going to be, starting off with some particular topics. We'll try and wind up. We have about 30 minutes, so I shall try and wind up in about 25 minutes so that we can take some questions from all you fine folk. All right, so gentlemen, the first thing I want to talk about is before we talk about jobs and job losses, etc., and all that kind of scary stuff, especially from the point of view of game development, at this point right now in November 2023, what can AI actually do? Right? Like, what are the capabilities of AI today in the process of game development and production when it comes to design, art, and programming? Like, what's the situation like? Not about the future, but right now. What can AI do right now?
So I see a lot of pitches that come to me as an investment advisor, and I do see a lot of last year's bad pitches with metaverse removed and AI replaced. But the reality is already today, I do see it being used. One, it's being used in QA to do some testing. Two, it's being used in a lot of concept art. So not in the in-game art so much, but in the concepting phase. If you want to test different art for your game characters, it's very easy to iterate. And then also I'm seeing it used to do things like NPC game dialogue. So it's not being used for the high-end function. I suspect some programmers are using it to help speed up their work, but not in a systematic way. So it's already working, but at the edges and at the low value part of development.
Yeah, I think it's the same way. So mostly, it is being a part of the productivity tool. And then the interesting part is that the AI being really specific, so you have to come up with a use case for really small use case and then focus on that. So that is because of the like AI is not really a intelligence as of yet. Um, so yeah, like Mike said, all the stuff I've seen so far is that either using it as a part of productivity tool or using to create a tools to make it textures and so on and so forth. The conversational NPCs is the one I hate the most because it doesn't add anything to the game. So if you're working on it, don't do that.
So yeah, I mean, so far we've been only working with, I mean, concept art, right? So it's very helpful to brainstorm an idea, like where you come up with a lot of concept art just when you're beginning with it. Probably with the audio area where you can have symphonies getting generated because you can just have a bit of sampling and then with mix and match the sampling, you get a new music composition, right? So if you have the chords ready, it's gonna generate a bunch of instruments for you. So that area is where it's been used mostly, I think, and the probably like Mike said, NPCs, but I'm not talking about the dialogue, but probably the voice acting part, right? So you can one actor can finish and then it can be modulated to someone else. So these areas are pretty tricky. So voice actors are probably are in the front line of getting affected.
Right. So a little bit of background here for people who are new to game development or looking to get into game development. I know most of you all just when you talk about building a game, you have a game idea and you download a game engine, you start building it right away. But that's not what happens in the game industry. We actually have something called pre-production, right? And pre-production can, depending on the size of the game, can take months or maybe even a year or more. And in that pre-production process, there are a lot of things that have to be built and discarded and done over and over again. And that is my summary is that that is where AI is actually very useful right now. Am I right?
Sorry, I don't have hands-on experience with the pre-production yet. The only place where I've seen it used deep in the pre-production process with my limited exposure is in concept testing, where basically you take your core art and then you iterate, hey, we want the character to look younger, to look older. There is where I have seen it in pre-production, but I'm probably not the best person to answer that.
All right.
So, by the way, one interesting thing that to think about is that for some of the AAA large companies, they explicitly forbid to use AI as of today in any sort of production because they are worried about the IP and copyright rules. So the like mostly AI use of AI is being actually in the developers only.
Right. Yeah, or small companies, small studios that don't have a budget for high quality concept artists, you know, they would use AI just like subscription for whatever, $10, $20 a month, and that's it. They've got some concept art straight off the bat. Awesome. So that, I think, next let's talk about, so where do you think it's going, right? What are the capabilities that you look at for the future? 5 years, like let's give two, okay? 5 years and 10 years. What do you think AI is going to be doing? AI is going to be able to do in the. I know this is like a crazy question because you might well ask for 100 years when it comes to 10 because technology moves so fast. So what do you think? Short term and long term, 5, 10 years. What do you think AI will be able to do?
So I think in the first few years, I expect the biggest impact will be on mobile games because mobile games rely so much on data analytics, right? You really need to understand how the users are interacting, engaging with your game, how to monetize. And right now, you need to be a large-scale publisher to really have those analytics tools at your disposal. So I think AI can help democratize the live operations of mobile games, and I think that will help smaller companies compete with larger companies. So I think in the first 5 years, the biggest impact will be on mobile games. I think from 5 to 10 years as you go out, the impact will be much more influential on AAA console and PC games. And the area that I'm most excited about is the games today that rely on procedural generation, like No Man's Sky, and more recently, is it Skyfall? The Microsoft game. They're still empty. They're still lonely. They're built by procedural generation, but they're not really rich or alive. And I think that's where AI can really help a lot. I think that as game teams grow in size, programmers, level designers, narrative designers, the headcount increases on a linear basis, but the number of artists increase on an exponential basis. So I think that will help artists do more and work on a larger scale that will help indie teams make better large-scale games.
Wonderful. Any other?
One thing I don't agree with what he said is that even with AI, like small companies will not able to really use AI to do the analytics, because the issue with analytics is that it's not about the tool, it's about knowing what kind of question you ask to the those tools. So I've seen many companies implementing the so-called BI system and not, but always the problem is that people understanding what question to ask, right? So that problem AI will not solve for you. That's why I don't think it's really impact that much. In terms of production-wise, I agree that one thing that is really interesting is that how this, in the next 5 years, it will help a lot of the small developers. Essentially allow one-man company to build on games. So essentially going back to like 30, 40 years ago. Back in the days, when I first started 30 years ago, 35 years ago, not as a commercial professional developer, but as a like student developer, I was doing the coding, art graphics, design, music, everything, right? And that was how games were developed originally. And then the AI in the next 5 years will allow to go back to that era. Making it to like commercial level is another question, but I think that it will help to see a lot of games come out. So the entry level will be kind of like democratized, and then after that, on the AAA side, it's a little bit like more tricky because right now, like I said, no one is allowed to use AI, and can AI become advanced enough to be used as a part of the product pipeline of AAA? That is still a big question mark. So I'm not too sure about that. But what I'm mostly excited about is that what kind of interesting new gameplay can AI will be able to help to produce. On that, I think there'll be quite a lot of interesting stuff.
I do agree with him. So probably in 2 years from now, I mean, AI is not actually intelligent. So we need to understand that. One, it's
Right.
basically taking a larger data set and trying to mix and match and throw the output. So for that part, we need to understand and be on the same page, right?
Like someone needs to drive the car. It can
Yes,
drive
yes. So
fast and
I
fast.
mean,
Someone needs to be a good driver.
exactly. So when you hear AI, I expect the singularity to be done by 2 years from now. But sadly, it's still taking sample points from the users and the web. So we all know the web. The web is not a safe place to be, right? Like it can get the wrong information about a lot of stuff. So probably jobs with a lot of automation will be completely replaced. For example, if you're upscaling a texture, then AI would be pretty helpful there, right? Um, Punching out a lot of audio files or automation stuff will be almost a common pipeline. Like I said, one-man solo devs can find a lot of good starting point with their prototypes or get that not full production, but at least to a point where they're satisfied, looks polished enough
Yeah,
to
like
grab attention.
multi-language.
Yes, language.
Wow.
Yep.
It's like generate AI that is going to release the 18 languages in
while talking about language, it can also do cross-platform or cross languages, programming languages, where you can, if an entire code base is written in C++ and they want to move an engine to something else, that's where the automation of that can happen, right? Yep. So
Yeah,
we use
that
that. So we use ChatGPT to convert code from TypeScript to C
right.
Sharp.
Like this really, really menial kind of like really, yeah. Like you want a poster, you want a game poster. It's the marketing team wants it in 16 different sizes. You just
Exactly.
make the one square size and ask AI to resize it into 16 different sizes, and it's like that's done.
And also with the backend systems, most of the code is usually redundant, right? When you're writing in REST API or something like that, that's been done to death. And we hire a junior programmer or junior developer who'll be just Googling from Stackflow and just copy pasting it. So, so that process
But,
is
yeah.
taken care of by AI, right? Like it will be like Copilot will just give you right there in your code editor. So that's where it's going to go.
Brilliant. So, I mean, the next question was any anecdotes about what AI tools you've used? So, I think we've already covered that, right? Now let's talk about. I think we already covered a little bit, but the shortcomings of AI, right? So, can it really replace humans? Like, what are the things that AI cannot e- ever do? Like, what will be the things that humans are actually safe in when it comes to AI? My estimate of it would be game design documentation, right? Writing a game design document. Do you know what I mean? Creating a UI. I'm a game designer, so for me, it's maybe the first draft, right? But you won't be able to finish. AI can't actually finish a game design document or a
Pretty
blueprint.
useful for brainstorming, right? Whenever you're
Yeah.
trying to come up with a concept.
I don't think we know how far this technology can go, but I've been through, I've seen risk processing and fuzzy logic and lots of programming tools and advances. At the end of the day, this is just another software tool. So what's interesting to me is how it empowers creators. I don't know if you have, I've had the same experience where now I'm Googling and instead of getting a useful web page, I'm getting an AI generated web page that's just a trick to get me to look at the ad. The quality is, I mean, it's terrible and it's ruining my surfing experience. So there we see the limitations. But I had a friend who applied for a job at one of the world's biggest consulting firms. And he's not a native English speaker. He had to give a 6-page essay with an analysis. He put it in Chat GPT. He got the job, and they said it was the best. It was the best analysis they had ever seen. So I think it shows the opportunity there. I think that what's the most exciting thing for me is how it empowers artists. You can draw 2D and get a 3D art. But at the end of the day, even today with humans, the biggest problem I have is most game concepts are not original. I call them a niban senji in Japanese, right? The second cup of tea from the same tea bag. Most of us are just recycling the same old ideas, which is going to be another problem with AI again. So I think that inspiration will always require a human. And I think that the people's expectations will be even higher because the lookalike and the knockoff and the copycat games will come from AI. But the best quality games will always be coming from the human element.
Right? It's kind of like humans take it from A to B, and then AI takes it from B to C, and then hands it over to humans, then take it from C to D. So there's kind of like a step-by-step process. I'll do this, and you do a bit of this, and then we pass it on. You know that's
So back in 2003, a little bit long time ago, so in China, Shanghai, they started to do this gaming conference called Shanghai Joy. And then the first Shanghai Joy, when I went there, like every single game in that show, there are a lot of Chinese companies just showing off the games. They will all look like the Korean game lineage. And then the next year, back then I was with Blizzard Entertainment. I worked on World of Warcraft, and we released it. And then it was quite a bit of successful game. And then next year we went to China Joy, and then we see every China Joy is World of Warcraft, right? They were even using our textures models. Some of the Chinese artists like applied, and like in the portfolio there is the artwork built by Blizzard, and they tried to apply to us. So yeah, so this is, I think that this is also what's going to happen with AI as well. The democratization of the game development will mean that that there will be million times more copycat games which look all the same. So the being discovery problem that we are facing right now will be much bigger.
Wow, it's possible. It's really possible for it to get much. I wouldn't imagine that it would get much worse than it is right
Right.
now.
So actually, I'm like it's a blessing, and like disruptive technology is always a blessing and curse at the same time. And then you need to think about and try to figure out how to use it in a good way. But unfortunately, there will be a lot of like bad things will happen before good things come out.
All right, we got around just about 10 minutes. So, Josh, your take?
So, the shortcomings, right? So, whenever we use Midjourney, right, to generate a lot of concept art, after a point you hit a saturation point because the data sampling is that's what's been given. So moving forward right now, since most of them were taken from ArtStation and all those art portals, right? So now that artists are trying to protect what they create, right? So projects like Nightshade just came along to protect their creations. So AI can't really create because right now, right, this 1 year, it had this, what can I say? The legality between wasn't established before that. So it just took all of those accumulated data that's been there lying around for 20 years. And then it just generated all of them right now. But eventually, companies or whatever, like ArtStation, they're going to protect what the artist actually generate, right? So I feel like at a certain point of time, AI is going to run out of resources where it can fetch from, right? So I'm a little worried about that as a fact.
I think that Facebook thinks I am a dentist. And I get ads all day long for dental equipment. And the fact of the matter is, somewhere there's an algorithm that has looked at me and analyzed me and done that. And at the end of the day, the AI, as powerful as it is always going to have those limitations. And they're almost comical, right? So I think all it really is at the end of the day is it helps us achieve a higher level of creative expression by taking those time-consuming tasks away from us. But I don't think it can ever completely, although I will say this, I asked ChatGPT to make a joke about the Unity scandal, and it actually told a humorous like monologue about Unity and what a stupid strategy they had. So it can do remarkable things.
That's because, Mike, that's because there are like 20% of the garbages in the internet is about joking, right? So they pick and choose, a lot to choose from.
Good for shit posting.
So there is actually, if we go one step further into the theory part, so there is a current generation generative AI, and there is a concept called general artificial intelligence. So current generation of AI is not really on intelligence, right? It cannot think, it cannot reason. It is like mix and match the data that it is trained on and then spit out. So it's kind of like, it doesn't know what he does. The AI doesn't know what it is doing himself. But general AI, the concept itself is that it actually reason and think and then know the causality. And then the thing is that we don't know. The AI scientists, they themselves don't know how to make that as of yet. So kind of like feel a little bit safer. But like that, if that comes around, that one will truly be changing the world.
All bets are off.
Right.
Yeah.
But on right now, what we have
Yeah.
today, no matter how much it is trained on, because of the limitation of the it is
systems.
physical
Probability.
probably
Yeah.
algorithm, it is a still stay as a tool, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm just saying that it still works on probability. It's not going to actually
Right,
apply
think.
some intelligent logic to it, right? So, yeah.
Right. All right. The big one. Not much time left. The big one is how, if there are going to be job losses, how bad is it going to be? Like this is the one that this is the big one, right? Who's going to lose their jobs, and what is the headcount change going to look like because of AI?
You want to go first?
I mean, I already told who's going to lose their jobs. Probably a lot of voice actors to begin with, concept artists a bit, I suppose. If they can protect their concept art from being ripped off after a while, probably they can keep the jobs. A lot of automation programmers, anything that's been done to death over and over again, those people are going to lose their jobs. Um, Sadly. I mean, it goes across beyond the gaming realm also. Like my wife works for a pharmaceutical company, and they do a lot of medical testing, and those entire area has been replaced by AI right now. So anything that's been redundant, automated, something that runs on a conveyor belt, they're going to lose the job.
I think there's a quality and a quantity aspect. In terms of quantity, I think QA and testing, not all of it, but I think that the most of it is already quickly being automated. And certainly in terms of art or animation, I've talked about the idea that you can create art in 2D and it will make it 3D, which will, there's a real limitation today because we were creating 3D art on a 2D interface. So I think artists and animation will be hit next. However, I think what will happen, and this is based on what I saw when art went from 2D to 3D, the best artists, the best animators will keep their jobs and will make more money. And then the lower tier, the lower quality people will probably have to do something else. So it's not just that we're gaining jobs or losing jobs, but I think the most talented people in each field will make even more money because the AI tools will make them more powerful. And the ones who are doing the low-end work will need to find something new.
So when you talk about quantity, AI also create jobs that didn't exist. A lot of jobs. Not from engineers. That's not a job, real job. What I'm talking about is that because AI is not AI, when you train your AI model, you have to have people to tag what is it trained on and have to teach the computer on what this is all about. It's kind of like tagging, and it requires a lot of people, right? And then that's the like low level. A lot of people require job, right? So the like there are some jobs are created, some jobs are lost. But generally, I agree that in terms of creative part of the industry, if you are do your skill, then you have your skill, then I think that you'll be fine. But entry level, like a lot of potentially could be replaced. But in general, I don't think that the number of people who you will need to create great games will reduce that much.
Okay. I want to build on this because this is my idea. I need you to build it, just my idea. So right now, free-to-play is really challenged in lower-income countries because people can't afford the microtransaction. So instead of paying for microtransactions, you agree to do an AI training task on your mobile phone, and then you earn the credits to play the game. So I want to see a future world where free-to-play gaming is actually what is driving the engine of training AI.
Oh, you already do that.
Well, CAPTCHA.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be like Capture, but even bigger.
Right.
I mean, what if they train it wrong? Because you're giving it to the public, right? So how do you validate those data that's been coming from the public?
Statistics.
Okay.
You give it to a lot of people and then see how many people.
And the higher quality work, the higher quality work will earn more gems for the game. So you'll actually have an incentive to do a good job.
Yeah,
So
can work.
if somebody does this and gets rich, please send me a t-shirt. Send me a t-shirt for your new company.
All right, time's up. We'll take one last question. Actually, you know what? So one sentence to collect your thoughts and express your opinions. Just give me a one-liner. Give me a one-liner on this. Like punchline on AI.
Punchline. Okay. I mean, just like any other tools, right? It's going to have a good and a bad. So I think it's human nature that we have evolved so much. I mean, that evolution of millionaires is still going to be there with us. So adapt to the times because it's going to change either way. So improve your skill set.
AI is not going to take your job. Someone who knows AI will.
That's fantastic. I can't say anything better than that. That's the best comment I've heard all week. And by the way, we're the last panel of the day, so we could go another hour if we wanted to.
Let's
so
do that.
before I answer, I just want to say this is my first time to India. I have never seen so much exciting talent, so much potential, and I've also had amazing hospitality and the best food of my life. So thank you.
Ditto. This is my first time in India as well. I'm like very excited
Yeah,
and
I mean the whole
thrilled.
industry. Yeah, and please understand, the whole industry, the whole world is focused on India because not only is it a great market, but it's also the great source of talent. And now we have a generation of young people who grew up playing games, love games, and are ready to make games. So it's not an income issue. It's a cultural issue. It's a generational issue. So I think, and I said this at the last panel, I'm waiting for how long until the first made in India game is a top 20 worldwide, not just in India, but worldwide. And it could be 2 years, it could be 5 years, we never know. But I'm very excited about that day, and I believe in it since we've come here. So I cannot top that amazing comment on AI, so I'll leave it to you.
Right. So here's my thing on AI. For those of you who are scared of it, don't be, right? Take your skills to a point where, as fast as possible, stay ahead of AI. Learn how to use it, stay ahead of AI, make it your friend. Do not look upon it as your enemy, and you're going to be fine. Okay? So, all right. So now, questions. Apurv? Yeah. That's my student room.
Did you place
Cheese
him,
pizza.
Did you place him strategically there?
Hello.
May I have.
Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah. Hi, this is Apuv. My question was, will AI be so superior that it might have to be banned or stopped in some cases? Do you think AI will get
Audio is
that
so
much
bad, I
superior?
can't understand the question.
So, do you think at some point only for the gaming industry, or
Or anywhere, anywhere.
do you think like people will be like ban AI? Like in Dune.
So
No.
it's in like that game Detroit Become Human where
No, it's not going to happen. You may as well try to ban farts because because at the end of the day, it is just a software technique. Now, maybe after somebody uses AI in a bad way, then we can give them a penalty. And we may be able to make some decisions to say, hey, if you use AI in this dangerous situation, that's against the law. But that's going to happen after the fact. How do you police a software technique? So, we're seeing this in the United States where the actors union is trying to limit the use of AI in some conditions. I think at the end of the day, that's going to be almost impossible to do on a broad base. I'm not too concerned. Honestly, I'm not worried about AI going out of control and starting World War III. I worry about humans going out of control and starting World War III. But even if we wanted to stop it, I don't think we can. How can you outlaw a software technique?
I also have another question.
Just one question per person, please.
Yeah,
Next.
sure.
Yep, to him, please. And try and keep the mic close to your mouth.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon. I wanted to ask, like,
Little louder, please.
yeah, I wanted to ask, with the growing hardware techniques, like Google has a quantum computer, IBM has a quantum computer. What are your regards, like AI and quantum synergy?
So quantum computing is kind of like AI. They have a like lab stage quantum computers that theoretically can do a lot of interesting stuff. But there are still some doubt that can it even be possible in the next 10, 20, 30 years time. So it's kind of like same situation as in AI in. right? It has a, if it is built commercially, then it will have really interesting synergy between AI, but it's not going to happen in the next few years. So I think we can have some time to think about that.
Awesome. All right. In the back.
Yeah, yeah. Can developers design AI in such a way that it could just reduce manly hours, increase work-life balance, their productivity, and yet increase the output rather than just replacing human beings themselves? Because on one way there's a lot of work-life stress for the human being, and on the other side there's a fear that AI would replace all human beings. So can't there be a middle ground between the two?
That's a pretty good. So what he's saying is that the one thing is AI is gonna take everyone's jobs, right? Is there a possibility that we could actually use AI to make our lives better in game development? You know, like work-life balance, automate our processes, kind of like go home at 5 p.m. and let AI kind of take over. Like, all right, Mr. AI, I'm out of here. You know, just finish this task. I'll see you in the morning. That kind of thing.
I believe work-life balance is dictated by humans, right? So it's up to you guys how you balance work and life.
Exactly.
So
It's not
I mean,
about AI.
and if you are going against the AI, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should take a different job, right?
I don't know if this was the case in India, but I thought it was funny in the United States. When we talked about AI at first, it was about replacing blue collar jobs. Like, hey, we don't need any more truck drivers. We don't need any more taxi drivers, right? And people said, well, that's creative destruction. They're just going to have to live with the changes. And then what happened is it's actually the blue collar intellectual jobs. Oh, no, we need to stop AI. So it's very interesting to me that when the working class jobs were threatened, that was no problem. And now that it's reversed, it actually looks like a problem. But yes, my hope is very much that people will use it in ways that make their lives better. But I do want to emphasize that there are cultural differences to how we approach this. And I learned this, I was in China, and I was talking to a young woman who's doing amazing work so that farmers can use AI to determine what's happening to their crops. And because they're not experts, but they're take a picture of their rice plant and it will tell them what they need to do for it. And so I'm discussing with her, I say, this is a powerful tool, but it may be used in dangerous ways like facial recognition to control where you go and monitor where you go. And I was saying like, this is a bad thing. And she goes, yes, that will help us make a safer society. So I looked at this as a risk, and she saw it as an opportunity. So I think at the end of the day, it's for us to decide.
Right.
Like you said, it's for us to decide whether we want to use this in way A or way B. But I do think different cultures and different economies will use it in very different ways, and we'll see who makes the right choice.
Oh, AI God. He said, I didn't do that.
All right. All right, gents. I think pretty much done. Okay, one last question.
I actually don't mind keep going. As long as there's questions.
Yeah. We'll take more questions then.
I
All right.
just heard you played Detroit Becoming Human.
Louder, please.
I just heard you played Detroit Becoming Human. As Connor, what was your Turing test?
I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah, there's an echo to the
Yeah, there's an echo as well.
Okay, so I heard one of the speaker.
Said a Turing test, but after that. I think some already did. Yeah.
So one of the speaker mentioned they played Detroit Becoming Human.
Now I don't get the question. What was that?
Did we mention that the will replace humans? Or?
There is a game called Detroit Becoming Human. I heard.
Okay, see, there's a game called Detroit Becoming Human.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was asking what was your Connor's Turing test. Playing as Connor, there is a Turing test in the game.
I know the game, but I haven't played the game.
All right.
Right.
What's the
Hi.
game called?
So my question is like right now AI is basically a tool and people as users use it.
Okay.
What happens down the line when AI itself becomes a model as a user to use other AI as a tool?
Can you summarize the question?
So I don't have a clear answer, but I'll tell my joke, which is that already people are using AI to design games and is starting to use AI to do marketing for games. And soon we'll have AI to play games, and we won't need people in the ecosystem at all. We can just all go home and talk to our kids.
So I think there's a Bible verse, something called, if a blind leads the blind, they both fall into a pit, right? So it's something like that. So an AI model training and another AI model, it's basically like making Alexa and Google talk with each other, right?
So aside from that joke, actually, like one of the companies I'm advising is working on a game system that actually different AI agents that interact each other to create a society or game world. They kind of like living and breathing. That was actually the topic of my speech like 2 days ago. And that is in a way that AI. So there's an AI game master is controlling NPC AIs to determine what's going to happen in game system. And then what happens with that is that, as Mike said, you don't need a game player to have that game world to evolve. And the time goes, like the game changes over time, history is made, and so on and so forth. So like in that, once it is done, so we are still working on it, working on proof of concept, but if that works out, what happens is that like players are optional, right?
I think for me, I'm interested in the synergy of human input and machine learning. So I'm an advisor to a company called Auxworld, AUXWORLD, Auxworld. And they're creating a platform where basically you tell it, I want to make a zombie game on Mars, but your guns shoot bananas. And it will instantly make the game for you. Now, how can it do that? It does it because it creates a template of handmade, maybe 100 different types of platforms. So it populates the details with the AI generative piece, but we still rely on humans. So it'll feel like the AI is just making everything for you. It's really cheating, and it's not. So I'm fascinated with this idea of mixing the human element and the machine learning element together, because I just don't think it's that helpful to completely replace it. That sort of last 5% is where it'll be so difficult for machine learning to accomplish it. And that's where we need the human element. Just like today, we have so many machine-made items in our lives that the handcrafted items become more valuable, right? Oh, hand-woven silk is much more valuable than machine-made cotton. And so I think what will happen is these human-made experiences will become more valuable and more high touch. And then the things that are not important, then we can leave to machine learning.
So if you visited the expo area, and there are like a lot of games for here. Some are good, some are okay, but you can tell which engine did they use, right? Because they have a similar viewpoint, similar animation. So it kind of like looks like even though they have different names and a little bit different graphics, but it kind of feels the same game. And that is actually one of the reasons some companies don't want to use those commercial engines, like neither Unity or Unreal, and then they use their own engine because it does give you the ability to create something really unique and then that applies to AI as well. So the humans can create something that AI cannot come up with. So the collaboration between AI and human will be human create something new, AI can multiply it. So that's how I think about the future of game development, where we will still have a lot of people, artists, writers, engineers, and everything, and then whatever they made with the help of AI can come up with a different variations, and that variation is based on human creation by our own IP. So that will also be like owned by us, right? So that's how I'm thinking about the how AAA productions will go about in the near future.
Awesome stuff. All right, gents. I think we. All right. One last question.
Right now, ChatGPT or any AI isn't capable of branching. It has bad memory. Like after few statements, it eventually forgets what we are working on. Like like we are living in Web 2 right now. What if Web 3 overtakes? And any thoughts on that? Like it is capable of branching Web 3.
Do you understand? What was the question?
Web3 branching.
Yeah, I mean, right now AI isn't capable of branching. Like yes,
Right now, AI is not capable of branching.
yeah, in yesterday's conference, Sir Mohsin said that AI isn't capable of branching. Like he taught us to taught how to make 2D games in AI using ChatGPT.
Right.
Like eventually, after few statements, it forgets what we are working on. Like after a few lines of code, it is forgetting the main concept on what we are working on.
Right.
Like Web3 is capable of branching. Any thoughts on that? Like
Oh, that's not true, actually. So AI doesn't forget. ChatGPT forgets because ChatGPT can allow you to, keep your instance for a certain period of time. But when you are really working on a game or whatever you want to do, is that you will need to have your own AI instance, and you want to keep that, right? You need to have your own database and that. So that doesn't nothing to do with Web 2 or Web 3, I think.
yeah, I mean ChatGPT has pretty bad memory.
Well, ChatGPT is not built as a game engine, right? So I'm not sure that why you want to use that to create games. Like I don't see what kind of value to create. Do you know, guys?
All right. All right, folks. I think we'll call it a day, and that's the end of it. That's the last talk panel discussion of IGDC. So thank you so much, gentlemen. That was brilliant. And this talk is going to be up on YouTube very soon. So I think that
Oh my
was a
God.
very, very valuable discussion. And it's going to be interesting predictions that will be tested by time. People 10 years later will be watching this video and saying,
These guys were wrong.
yeah, he was wrong. He got that right. Let's see
It's
how
okay, Maurice, right?
kind time is to this panel discussion. Thank you, gents. That was brilliant.
Thank
I
you.
think we pretty much went to the entire spectrum. So big hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quote is fantastic.